All right, welcome back to Photoshop. And in today's video, I'm going to show you how to create a brush preset that looks like grass to more realistically blend in an object going from something like this to this. So as you can see here, we've got our horse feet, got the grass below it. So what we're going to do is we're going to duplicate, Command or Control J, move that above the horses, and we are going to put a black mask on that by holding Alt, clicking the mask button, and now it's hiding this layer. And what I'm going to do is show you what the difference is between using a round brush and the grass brush. So since I have the grass brush up first, we'll go ahead and click on this, and you can see here's that same brush that we created. And what we're going to do is use the color white to paint into the mask because white reveals. And then as I click on this, you can see it's adding grass to embed or make it look like that foot is located underneath. We can come over here, do the same thing. I can do as much. I can go up as high as I would want to make it look like that is sunk into the ground. Now let's come up here and change this. So let's take a look at this soft round brush and we'll do the same thing. Once again, what we have here is the color white. And if we come here, we're just making this kind of brush. Well, we're not really seeing it, and we could lower the opacity a little bit so it's not at 100%. So it sort of looks like it's coming up, but you don't get that texture that kind of comes up across when you do this. It's just revealing the pattern below it. So that transition point isn't really that realistic. So this is where this texture pattern that I'm going to show you how to create will make any image, whether it's a horse or any subject, blend into the background image, which is the grass. Much better than if you were using a round brush. All right, this is going to be step number 1. Don't get confused here on the terminology. It will make more sense as I actually do this. But what we have is a vector, and I've downloaded this vector. It's a free vector on Pixabay. Anybody can download it. I will have the link available below so that you can download this exact same image. Now, when we're trying to make this composite and we're trying to put a subject into something like a field, or in this case, grass, if you were to reveal using a mask one image into another, it's just going to be a smooth, weird transition. It's not going to look realistic. So we want to use a brush that looks like grass inside of the mask. All right. We're not trying to paint fake grass. We're just using a brush that looks like grass to reveal the grass, which is a little bit confusing, into the subject. So let me show you how to do this. And once we get it all combined and we have the two images and you see how I use it, it will make a whole lot more sense. One thing I can tell you is if you create a brush, create multiple brushes, because sometimes if you use something over and over again, even this composite here, it will start to repeat and look unrealistic. So in this case, we're going to take this, but we're also going to pick a couple of these and just make some other simple brushes just like that. So we can kind of use them over top of each other. It really depends on how exact you want something to look. All right, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to create a new file, and brushes can be made up to 5,000 pixels wide. I don't think we'll ever need a brush that big, so we're going to go with 2,000 pixels. So I'm going to go up here to New. We're going to make this 2000 and the bottom 2000, so it's square. All right. Resolution doesn't matter because we're using pixels. RGB color, we're working in 16-bit. Might as well do that right now. And in this case, we want a white background because the way the brush works is the only part of the brush that is used is the black part. So we want white to be the contrast color for that. We're going to go ahead and create that, and just like that, boom, we've got what we want. Now we're going to go back to the grass. So right here we have some grass, and what I'll do is separate this. If I was to just come in here and move this, notice everything's moving. I don't want to do that. I just want to move this for right now. So we're going to come in here and we will just simply do something weird, which is hit the delete button and they're gone. So now the only grass that we have is this. So we're going to grab this. We're going to come on over here to blank layer. And we're going to put that in. Yes. Yes. And there's our grass. It's a little bit too big, so we will resize that. I'm going to hit Command T or Control T, which is the transform function. And we will just reduce this down a little bit. It fits, and that's perfect. I will hit return to apply it. And now what we want to do is we want to turn this to black and white. So we're going to go up here to image mode, grayscale, and just hit flatten. Doesn't make a difference, discard. All right, so we've got black and white like that. I'm going to increase this so it's a little bit darker. Good, so we got a good black there and some grays. And then we're going to come up here and go to Edit, Define Brush Preset. And what that did is you can see right there, it's made a brush on this grayscaled image. And I will call this main grass brush. We will hit OK, and it's done. You can see that's a brush. I can click, and it literally creates that. All right, so let's go back in time because we don't want this right now. So that's blank again. I'm going to click on over here on the lasso tool just to get rid of that. We're going to go back to the grass. I'm going to go back in time here. In this case, we're going to pick something else. So we're going to make a couple smaller other brushes here. So we've got that lasso, and I will circle, didn't do a good job, this one right here. I'm going to hit Command Shift I, which is Control Shift I on a PC, and that selects everything but. We'll delete it, click out of that, grab our move tool, and we will move this over to the white here. We're going to hit yes, yes, and there we go. We've got our new brush. We're going to make this black and white. I could simply just come up here and make it black and white like that. We'll leave it sort of gray like that. That's okay. We'll flatten this image, go to Layer, Flatten Image. Then we'll come up here to Edit. We'll use this Define Brush preset. And once again, we will make this. You can see here's our little brush. And we'll call this Grass Brush. And we can go on, so on, and so on, and so on, and just keep repeating that process and making as many brushes as we want. Right now, we're done with that, so let's go ahead and close out these files. Our next image is this image of these horses. This is another image that I've downloaded. Notice it's already been cut out. Not very well done, but doesn't make a difference. It's just here for the tutorial for me to show you how to do this. Now, when you're doing this, shooting the animals in the same perspective is the image that you're going to put them in is going to make a huge difference. If you shoot really low and then you have another image where you shoot from really high, it's going to look weird and nothing you do is going to make sense. So let's go ahead and take this image. We're going to drag this over to the Highland cattle, and we've got the animals right here. Now, right now, this is just way too big. So what we're going to do is we are going to right click and turn this into a smart object so we can control the size. I'm going to hit Command or Control T, and I'm going to have to zoom out a little bit because it's too big. And I'm going to reduce the image down. We're going to make these horses much smaller than the cattle. I'm not trying to put it in perspective in real life size. So we can put these little horses running through next to this world's biggest giant Highland cow. So let's go ahead and zoom in. So you can see right here, the issue is it looks like at this point that these horses are literally floating on top of the grass. What do we want to do? Well, in this case, we want to make a selection of this area. So I'll come over here. We'll make a selection. And when I'm doing this selection, I need to make sure that I'm on the background, not the horse layer. We're trying to make a selection of the grass. I'm going to make it too big. Okay. All right. All right. Now, after I've made that selection, I'm going to hit Command V or Control V, and you'll notice it's paced that, but it's below the horses. We want to move this above the horses. So now I've got this weird thing, and yeah, now you can't see the horse's legs, and that totally didn't work. So what we need to do is now create a mask. Now, if you just click on this, you'll create a white mask. If you hold your Option on a Mac or Alt on a PC and click the mask, it creates a black mask. Now, this is where the brush comes into. Now, if we zoom in, instead of using a round brush, which in this case works okay because it's not totally in focus, we can switch and use one of our grass brushes. So here's our big grass brush that we have. Go ahead and close that out. We've got this mask. So we will make this smaller so we can see what's going on. And we want to make this brush pretty small. So about the same size as that. Now we're going to do the same thing. We've got the color white over here, and we're painting it to a black mask. So instead of this just being a round, bland area, it's going to make this appear so it looks like a little grass. So we're making it appear in a grass. So if I come up here and click this, notice it makes a little piece of grass. So that's how it's making it appear in the same shape that grass should look. So now if I come on here and I click a couple times, it's making it appear, but now there's the little shoots of the grass that are sticking up. So it's looking a whole lot more realistic. So I can come in here and do the same thing. And I'm making these feet blend into the grass, but because the mask now looks like this, it's got these little shoots, so it's looking more realistic. Now you can see how if you start doing this a whole bunch of times, the repetition makes it look unusual. That's where having a secondary brush that we created, and I don't see it right here yet. So we can go here to, looks like I've got some grass brushes. This was grass brush 2. If I come in here and you can see there's grass brush 2. So I can reduce the size of grass brush 2 so it looks more realistic. And then I can come in here and add that as well to break up some of that randomized pattern that we had. So I will hold the Option to reveal this back up. And then we can start going in here and trying to get all this stuff to blend into that image. So that's how we can use a brush that looks like grass to make a more realistic blend of our image into its new scene. Now, there's one more step that you can do here. So we will go ahead. I'm going to hit Shift Delete, and that's going to make this totally black again. So we lose what we did. We're now going to randomize the brush. So what I will do is I'll switch back to our big brush, do the 94 pixel one, right? So that's our brush. But instead of just painting it normal, just like this, we're going to randomize our brush a little bit so it tilts and changes opacity. What you need to do is go up here to Window, click on that, and then right down here, you'll see Brush Settings. So we want to click on Brush Settings. And inside of Brush Settings, we've got all these different things that we can do. What we want to do is first Shape Dynamics. So I'm going to click on Shape Dynamics, and you're going to see something that says Size Jitter. And what this is going to do, it's going to change the size of this brush. Now, this is a very large brush, and I don't want it to be changing it a whole bunch. So I'm just going to start off with maybe 11%. I'm also going to come down here to Angle Jitter, and this is going to tilt it to the left and to the right so that we have a little variance there. The next thing that we have is we're going to come down here to the word Transfer. I'm going to click on Transfer. And this is going to change the opacity of the brush. So instead of each time I click, the opacity being exactly the same, it's going to vary that opacity by whatever percentage that I say here. So in this case, we're just going to do a little bit. We're going to turn off smoothing, and we're going to go ahead and let that go. And so what will happen is, notice I'm going to go over here to this animal. You can see now as I click each time, notice how that brush is auto tilting and changing and doing different things each time. That is going to give us some randomness when we now come in here and do this to the feet. So now I can come in here and blend those feet in. The brush is automatically blending or changing the way it works. So I can come in here and blend that foot back in. And you can see we've got this really realistic blend into the horse's hooves because we are randomizing and using this grass brush. Now, obviously, depending on what the scene looks like, you might have to create different types of grass brushes, some straight on, some from above. If you go to a different type of grass, you might need to do a different type of grass. If you're finding the information in any of these videos helpful, if you could please give me a thumbs up, that would be wonderful. If you would like to subscribe and get future videos as they come up, because I'm going to be doing a whole series on Lightroom right here, that would be great as well. But you could basically take any animal, so I could make a selection of this animal. So I can come in here, let it analyze it. It's probably going to pick this subject when it turns the right color. Got that? I'll click on that. I'm going to go into selected mask because we do have fur. I'm going to hit refine hair so we get a better selection. Look, it's not perfect. I'm not going to go in there and fiddle with this. And we will come down here to output 2. We're going to change selection to layer mask. I'm going to hit OK. So now we've got this animal cut out, which is what we want. And we can drag this image over to the Highland cattle. I can turn my horses off. We can put this below the grass, which is what we want. Don't worry, we've got a little couple areas there. We'll clear that out. So we'll hit Shift Delete to get rid of what I did, fill that with black. We're going to select our fox. I'm going to hit Command T. Normally I would turn this into a smart object, but we're not going to do that. So we'll just go ahead and resize him so he's smaller and fits into the location better. I'll apply that. I'll move them into the location that I want. We will zoom in. And once again, just like we did before, we're going to apply the grass brush right here to make it reveal through the feet. So I'll grab my brush. I've got my jitter on it, and you can see we're just blending this animal by on these areas. And just like that, we've sort of put fox into this location, and it looks a whole lot more realistic. Now, obviously, you're going to need shadows and other things like that that are going to make a difference, but this is a great way to more realistically blend in an object into a scene by creating whatever type of brush resembles the ground or the area that you want the image to blend into. Well, hopefully this has been helpful. You learned a little bit about making some brush presets and how to make composites inside of Photoshop. If you have any comments or questions, you can always leave those below, and please don't forget to subscribe.